Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and of course I'm joined by...
Hello, I'm Ben. Oh, from Tasty Classics. Yeah.
As if his t-shirt and his hat didn't already tell you. Now, so many of you recommended Ben's channel to me and you said, Steph, you have got to watch this madman. He's doing stuff with cars that would make somebody twice his age wince because he will seemingly take on every single project he possibly can. And I'm going to show you one of my favourites that he's got here during this video. So first of all, for those of you that are not yet watching Tasty Classics, give us a roundup. What happens on Tasty Classics and what do you do?
I buy old cars and I attempt to make them nicer and then take them for a little drive. And that is pretty much the bones of it.
That is the biggest undersell of a channel I've ever heard. Ben is absolutely incredible. I mean, I've been having a look. If you've ever watched it, and you will have seen it on the workshop tour, the Panhard Dyna Z. Oh my goodness. I looked at that, and what I didn't realise was until today that it's one of one. And so can you imagine trying to take a car, which, yes, of course, there are left-hand drive variants, but taking a right-hand drive variant and going, okay, so how does this work? How does that work? I thought I was pretty big guns taking on a Proton when there was only a few others in this country. To have a car where there is no blueprint copy, I think is a very brave move indeed.
Can I just say I'm falling in love with your Proton. It's, I don't know if it's, can you see it on the camera? Is it in the shot?
No, but we'll do a little overlay so people can see it.
It's parked here, it's mint.
Do you really want one now?
I just love the squareness of it. I'd like to take it around the Nürburgring, I think. I think it'd be a real fun Nürburgring car.
I mean, personally, I have been late for work and it's probably the same experience, except with speed cameras, and it's a lot quicker than you think it is, actually.
Yeah, nice.
It's, I've heard that you can get it over 100 miles an hour, but that's just hearsay.
Allegedly,
definitely,
officer.
That's definitely not a first-hand experience.
On a private runway.
Anyway, going back to the questions that I've got prepared for you. You have taken on so many projects. But the first question for you is have you ever taken a car on and thought, yeah, that's going to be an easy enough job, and then got it home and realised that actually there is a lot more work involved?
As soon as you started saying it then, straight away, if you watch my YouTube channel, it was the very recent video of the Sunbeam Talbot 90, which was, I mean, if you've watched my channel as well, I'm trying my hardest to use words that aren't swear words as well, because this is Steph's channel, so I'm trying to like be quite nice on here. Yeah, it was a bit of a bin. It was pretty wrecked. It was a subscriber's car, and he was like, "Come and get it, and you know you can have it." And I saw it, and it looked so nice. Don't know if you know what a Sunbeam Talbot 90 looks like. It's quite they're a very sort of 40s, 50s looking car, really smart looking thing, bit Great Gatsby. And yeah, I picked it up, got it back here. It was rotten from head to toe. Like the whole thing was knackered. And it was like, it just sort of sat around because I knew it'd be an absolute pain to get this thing running. One of the things I like to do is to get a car that's sort of like not been messed with. Something that was driven into someone's garage and just left, you know, lock the door, walk away. What I hate getting, my big sort of pet peeve is where you've had multiple people having a go and they'll have changed things, moved things, pulled things out, changed wiring here and doing all this sort of stuff. And I got this Sunbeam back and a lot of people had had a go at various different things on this car, and it just made my job very, very hard because I couldn't work out what was this supposed to be here? Why was that? Why is this there? Oh, it's positive earth actually, right? So we've got to do this. This is why this isn't working. You know, all this sort of stuff ended up being a real headache. Like so, yeah, that was one that I wish I had sort of walked away from a little bit. Really, it was just it was kind of good fun, but something like this, for example. It's been sat in a barn for 40 years, hasn't been touched.
Yeah. So
it's all still as it is, and it's just going to be a lot more fun to work on. Whereas that, you know, when I got that Sunbeam going, it had such a hard life. It was like someone, you know, the engine sounded like kicking a typewriter down a set of metal steps. Oh. It was pretty bad.
Which is such a shame, because if you've ever watched my video of the Sunbeams, Albert, you'll know that they are beautiful cars when they're in their best moments.
How do you get them into gear? The gears are so hard to get. I had to get it up on the ramp, and like all I wanted to do was drive it around the yard, and I just couldn't get any gears at all. And I finally got over this. I had to go into the engine bay, and there's like 5 different bits of adjustment before you get round to it. It's so annoying. But I did manage to drive it around the yard under its own power, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Now, when you take on a mammoth project like that, what's the first thing that you do?
The first thing that I should do is check that the engine's not seized. You probably, if you do watch my channel, you'll know that a few of them I've gone to and the engine's been seized solid, and there's just nothing you can do about it in a lot of circumstances, because you can unseize engines, and I have unseized plenty of engines. The Panhard, that was seized solid when I got it. But yeah, the first thing I should do is check to see if the engine's seized, but I never do. So the first thing I usually do is, I don't know, I like to think I've got a good sort of few metre sort of stare at a car. I reckon I can see it from a few metres away and go, yeah, it's all right.
But then where do you start when you start taking it apart? Because quite often I look at stuff and I think,
stick a battery on it, innit? See if it goes.
So many people are going to be watching at home and saying, no, you need to try and turn the engine over by hand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. One of a good way that is the sort of my real way of doing things, like with this, for example, is take the plugs out, spray a load of plus gas down it, which is like WD-40, but really, it's just the one that I prefer. There's loads of things you can put down it, but I just use that. Spray it down the holes, and then stick a battery on it and bang the starter motor. I don't bother turning them over by hand, because I've usually, like with this one, I've lent on the fan. So I know if the engine's free anyway, and if the engine's free and it moves, just use the start motor straight away. I never bothered it. The only time I'll turn it over by hand is if the if it I don't know if it's seized or not, so I need to find out if it's actually free before I turn on the start motor. But quite a lot of the cars that I do, you can't get to the bottom pulley to turn it over by hand without removing a load of stuff. So start motor, stick a battery on it. That's what start motors are for. It says it, in fact.
What a brave man.
Have you ever seen this?
Look at you plugging your merch. What are we plugging now? It's what starter motors are for. Brilliant.
There you go. It's what starter motors are for. And so, yeah, just bang it over. And usually it goes okay. A lot of people say like, oh, you'll break the starter motor, you'll smash teeth off the flywheel, all this sort of stuff. I've never even heard of that happening. It's just never been a thing.
No, I haven't, and people always say it, and I've always thought it was true and just believed it. Yeah. It's one of those old wives' tales, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, yeah. They're very strong metal bits, and if they don't go, the starter motor will stop spinning before it breaks any teeth off. It's not that strong, It's going to go dung if the engine's seized, which it does. And to unseize an engine, you can just keep banging the start motor. That's how we unseized the engine on the Rover, the P4.
Is it really?
Yeah, that engine was seized solid, and because it's got a starting handle, it's got no socket to get a bar on to break it. So I tried loads of stuff, couldn't get anything, and the way we did it in the end, big battery sort of connected, and it just ding, 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 and eventually it went, millimetre at a time.
This is very brave, man. Now, I have a question for you.
Well, what's the worst that could happen,
You end up with a bigger bill?
But if it's seized anyway, I mean, it's knackered anyway, isn't it? So
yeah, I suppose. That
you're going to have to do some sort of big work to it, whatever.
This is very true. Now, I know this because we've had a chat off camera, but for those of you that are new to the world of Tasty Classics, what's your background in old cars? Because you are very accomplished. You're happy to give anything a go.
Yeah. I had my first. So I'm 37 years old, and I had my first classic car when I was 10 years old.
What was it?
It was an Austin Maxi 1750, and I painted flames at the side of it. It was so cool. And so I lived on a farm, and I had this old Austin Maxi for my 10th birthday from my auntie and uncle, and
Yeah.
my uncle taught me to drive in it. And so he put like, I think he put the seat runners on a couple of wooden blocks so I could get higher up, which didn't need to be done for long because then I shot up in height. But he taught me how to drive it, and then I did my starter motor on that car. I think that was the only sort of work I did on it.
Yeah.
And then just over loads of other little bits and stuff. And then I kept that for a while. That's where I got my fear of spiders as well, because I got bitten by a spider in that
Did
car.
you?
Yeah.
What spider was it? Do you know?
It was tiny. It was like that little big. But I think because I was like 10 years old, my hands hadn't developed any calluses and and hardness, and the spider bit me in between my fingers, drew blood.
Really?
The weirdest thing ever.
Did it swell up or anything? Was it gross?
No. I don't know, but like my uncle was like, didn't believe me. I was like, I've just been bitten by that spider, and he didn't believe me. And I showed him my hand, and the spider was clamped there, and like he pulled the spider off, and blood came out. It was amazing.
That's gross.
So so the Austin Maxi was the first one, and so did all sorts of stuff like that, and then had probably, before I passed my test, maybe 10 cars, something like that, of all various shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And I'd had 2 Suzuki SJ410 Jeeps before them as well, which was one of my
Nice.
favourite cars of all time. It's so cool. And then I went off and did various sort of the jobs, but the main car-based one was I worked for Volkswagen. So I worked for Ford for... My first ever job in the motor trade was working for Ford, so that was valeting cars. So I was a car valet at Ford, but I learnt a lot of other stuff working there, and my goal was to sort of be a car salesman. That's what I wanted to be. I was like, I want to sell cars, partly because I wanted to be around brand new cars, which at the time were really cool. Like, you had, car dealerships full of like the most awesome ST220 Mondeos and these like real smart things that were just, everything was really cool. And then, so I did that, and then I went to Toyota, did a very brief stint at Toyota before, and that was just being a sort of dog's body in the workshop, before going to Volkswagen commercial vehicles. So I did Volkswagen vans for a couple of years, and then passenger cars after that. Ended up doing sort of 7 years total in Volkswagen, and in between that, because I had a 2 years break, so I did sort of 3 years, 2 year break, 4 years. I set my own workshop, set my own place called Car Tech, where I sort of sold cars and fixed cars. I had a mechanic and a valet working for me there, and we just did sort of like the cheaper end of stuff, and just sort of got people in their cars back on the road, and that was great, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I did up some great cars there. I fully restored a Capri and stuff when I was there.
Really?
Yeah, we had some really nice cars when I was there. And then so just sort of after Volkswagen, I completely got out of the motor trade because I ended up hating being a car salesman, which is probably understandable now, but my dreams of what this job was going to be like wasn't like that. It was it was a bit of it's a very corporate sort of weird environment, like, it's just not me at all. So I was like, right, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I moved on doing other stuff in the business, and I was just like, I don't like any of it. So I left motor trade, and then went into a record shop, strangely, which I've still got. And then I missed cars, just missed cars. So like went to, bought a couple of old classic cars, got them back on the road, kept doing that. And then, probably 40 or 50 cars later, here we are, like.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's having so many different. I'm not bothered by like what type of car it is at all. I'll have a go at absolutely anything, and I don't specialise in anything because they all do pretty much the same stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
You put petrol in one end and steam comes out the other, doesn't it? But like the Panhard, that was one of the only ones where I sort of opened the bonnet and I was like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah.
It's opposing cylinder, 2-cylinder opposing motorbike looking engine. I was like, wow, that's weird. So that was the only one that I've sort of been like, this is completely different to anything else, which is why it's my favourite car out of all of them, you know. But it's cool.
Did your Ford pickup here say that the Panhard was your favourite?
Oh, sorry. The Panhard's a second favourite. Yeah. Well remembered.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, can you imagine if the pickup breaks down on us later on now? Because it's like,
yeah.
oh, I thought I was the favourite.
The pickup's right behind you there. It's sat right there. Don't worry, you are the favourite. The pickup was always my dream car. So I always wanted one. From when I was a kid, I was just like, I want an American pickup truck, a big, stupid V8 one that goes BLOM.
Yeah.
So I got one.
Where did you get it from? What's the story?
So I've got family in America.
Yeah.
And I'm quite a bit of an Americanite. Like, I do like American stuff. You know, I think it's all cool. Their car scene's wicked over there. I love it. I was just sort of researching, you know, with my family's help over there. I was like, you know, what can I get? Didn't have loads of money, so I still haven't got loads of money, but like I sort of had a budget of like $5,000 to spend.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But you know, it doesn't get you far in terms of a nice sort of road going truck.
No.
So I was like, right, what can I get? And I was looking at importing something, and then just out of the blue, I just happened to come across an advert from a guy down the road who I'm still sort of mates with now, and he just imported that from Texas.
Really?
And it was a complete bin. It was knackered, but I was like, it was in my price range, and it was orange. I was like, yeah, nice. This is for me. Like, you know, went around to look at it. Didn't run. Didn't have any brakes.
Yeah.
Interior was shot. Nothing worked. It was just all the parts were there, but none of them worked. So I gave him $4,500 for it, and he delivered it. And I remember the day that he delivered it, we put it into the workshop here. And have you ever seen the intro to some of my videos? There's a moment where I'm pulling a push rod out of an engine.
Yes.
It was that. So
No.
the push rod was like bent almost 90 degrees, like, and loads of them were completely bent. Like it was a real mess underneath the cam covers. So got them all out, straightened them all out in the vise, hit them with a hammer. Yeah. Nice. Threw them all back in, and then tweaked with a carb quite a bit. Cleaned the plugs, you know, just very basic stuff. Got it running on all 8. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's amazing.
So good. But because it's an automatic, it's a 3-speed auto. And it's got a massive torquey V8. If those brakes don't work and you put it in drive, game over, like, you know, which I did. And then, so it just like, and obviously I'm pressing nothing, so I can't stop it at all. So thankfully switch it off, and it did stop because there's enough of a runway before you hit anything. So then I was like, right, this thing's mint. Got it inside and ordered probably 1,500 quid's worth of bits from America.
Okay.
All service bits, all new brake stuff, everything. Put it all on. And then, and because I don't need to MOT it or tax it or anything because it's old. So I registered it. It wasn't registered when I got it, so I registered it in the UK. And then, put all the bits on. The rear lights, like, they look, but they're LED. So there's loads of, like, good tech behind everything. But it just looks dead ratty and old, but it's, like, really nicely, you know, done. And then, drove it around for sort of 2 years like that, and it's just the best fun. Just it does burnouts, like, you know, any time, any weather, any day, you know, it'll do a burnout, like, it's so good. And then I blew the engine up doing a burnout.
Yeah. Normal.
Yeah, normal, which is fine, you know, that's what happens, isn't it? So what it actually was that I completely slipped my mind, but I'd just been putting normal unleaded in it.
Okay.
And it's from 1969. And it burnt the exhaust valves. So it was running worse and worse and worse sort of every time I did a burnout, every time I went on a drive, and to a point where it was getting impossible to drive it. And so I pulled the heads off, and burnt valves, burnt exhaust valves. So I don't know how many miles the engine was on, but it's possibly like 250,000 miles or something on the truck.
Really?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. So I was like, right, I'm going to take the whole engine out, and I'm going to take it to the head shop in Warrington, and I'm going to get them to do me a full engine rebuild, and we'll put some faster parts on it as well. So they did a full engine rebuild, cost me an absolute fortune. All new cylinder sleeves, rings, all that sort of stuff. And then we've got new intake manifolds, new carbs, all new ignition system, everything. New 4-branch manifold exhaust, then got a 3-inch exhaust on it with 2 boxes. Loads of cool stuff on it, and that was probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And it's phenomenal. Like, I mean, when we go out in it in a bit, you'll see, like, it's nuts. It'll pull your house down, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 8 seconds.
I am so excited. So just a little bit of a spoiler for you if you're watching at home. We are going to take the truck out on a test drive. And as someone who gravitates towards anything that's orange, it was the first thing that I made a beeline for when I arrived. And that's why I've actually got this suit on today, because this is an original 1968 Sears catalogue suit. And today is its first day out. It's been in the packet ever since 1968. So I thought, well, I've been saving it for a special occasion.
That's
amazing. The special occasion is today. And I thought, well, if we are going to do it, I've also got a 60s cowboy hat, which we're going to put on for the video.
Is that going to be all right with your hair?
Well, it's the last thing we're filming today, so once my hair is flat, it's flat. And
nice.
The day is done. It's okay.
Yeah. I've got my cowboy hat as well, so put that on.
Absolutely. Should we put our cowboy hats on now?
Yeah.
Right, we're back in business.
Have you seen this mug, everyone? Look at this.
I love that we're touting merch in this video. These are actually the iDriver Classic mugs, and look, I just need to get my website sorted, and it will be sorted. I pledge to everybody here now, I will have it sorted by the end of September. It has been so busy, but that's a story for another day. I am very busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Yeah, always on the social media, you're always there, doing stuff.
There. Yeah, there's always something going on. We're trying to do
interesting cars.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting as well? I don't know if you noticed, but whenever I get a car in that you've reviewed, I'll watch your video on it.
Do you really?
Yeah. Just like, what did I do it on last? Which one was it? It was the P4, I think. Yeah, because you'd done a P4.
Yeah, I did.
I was watching it, and it's just so handy, just like, because you're driving them. So I'm like, all right, that's how you start it. Do you know what I mean? Like, great, yeah. Because the ones you tend to drive tend to be pretty sorted.
Yeah.
You know, like they're pretty decent, so.
Ish. There are some howlers. Talking about howlers, because I've got a howling Triumph myself. What is going on with this old girl? Because this is new, isn't it?
So nobody knows about this yet, so I don't know the chronological order of how these videos are going to come out. But this is my next revival project. This was pulled out of a garage where it sat for 40 long years.
That's insane.
4 decades it sat there. And I bought it because it's, bar a couple of minor bits, it's solid. And Triumphs, I don't know if you know this, rust. They're really bad for it, like.
I do. I know it well.
and this one is, I'm amazed by it. I haven't been underneath it, but all the bits that usually go on Triumphs, it's looking good. The only problem is I am down on compression on a couple of cylinders, so they're full of stuff at the moment, but I might have to take the head off and do an unleaded conversion on it.
Yeah.
But it's happening. It's on the go. So this one, so what I tend to do in my videos is like, it's the whole thing in one. They tend to sometimes last 2, maybe 3 hours, but it's the whole thing in one. So you're going to see this as it is now. I'll get it running, do all the brakes and stuff, take it for a drive, all in one, whatever it takes. I've said that now, but I don't know what's wrong with this engine. If the bottom end's knackered, you can't really buy engines for these. They're not really that available. They're just, it's everything old's hard to get in good condition. Yeah. So if it's too knackered, it might not be economically viable, and we'll move it on. But from what I've seen of it so far, should be okay. Should be okay. After 40 years sitting in a barn, what could possibly go wrong?
Plenty, absolutely plenty. Please ask me. Now we're talking about.
You drove that home, didn't you? Sorry,
very naughty. We're talking about financial viability. I mean, nothing I own is ever financially viable, which is probably why I'm still poor. However, we also need to talk about regrets. What is your biggest motoring regret, especially since starting Tasty? What car sticks in your mind as one of your biggest?
Well, obviously the Sunbeam was a big one.
The poor Sunbeam.
The Larder.
Yeah.
Larder, I deleted the video for the Larder because that was sea solid. The Austin was another. Anything that's been seized that I can't unseize. I like unseizing engines. Unseize loads of engines. It can be pretty straightforward, but the Larder. Do you know what? The Larder was probably one of the biggest regrets because it was. I wanted it to be so good. It was a Larder Neva, the 4x4.
They're really cool as well.
Well, I thought that, and then I got near one, and I was like, "This is the worst car I've ever seen in my life."
Why? Why did you say that?
It was just horribly made. Design was horrendous. It was just like everything was in the way of everything else. It was
Right,
quite a late Neva, so they'd taken the original premise of the Neva. And is it Neva or Reva? Reva's the little estate car,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, Neva's the 4x4. And they take the Neva's been going for a very, very long time, and they were originally little carburetted petrol engines, great, whatever. And then as time went on, they changed things and tried to make them better. But what they'd done is they'd essentially just added stuff on to this car to make it, I don't know, better on emissions and stuff. But it just made it so hard to work on. And like I tried to take the head off. Just taking the head off was a nightmare. 'Cause everything had to come off. Like with some cars, like with this, I have to disconnect the exhaust manifold and the head comes off. That's it. It's just like 8 bolts and the head's off. With a lot of other cars, but modern cars, nightmare as well. But the Larder wasn't that modern. And I tried to take the head off to see what was wrong with it, and it would have been stripping pretty much half the engine bay down to its component parts just to get the head off. I was just like, I can't be bothered doing this,
No.
And like everything that I touched snapped or broke, and it was just everything was held on with hopes and dreams, and I was just like, I can't be bothered with this. And then I tried unseizing it by towing it with the truck and like doing all the tricks in the book, just wouldn't unseize it. Sea solid. It'd been sat in like a swamp or something, and like just full of water forever. And the regret in that was that I really wanted a Larder Neva. I just wanted one. I wanted to play with one. The idea of the video was to get it running and go off-roading in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I ended up hating it, and that's a bit of a regret, isn't it?
That is sad. Well, they do say never meet your heroes. So.
Yeah. I think maybe I'll do another one day, and hopefully that'll change my mind on them. But yeah, it was a real bad car.
It can do. My first Morris Minor was absolutely dreadful. Like any
some
normal person would have been put off, and the second one's amazing.
Some cars are Friday cars, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they were built on a Friday. They never want to run. It's just some cars are like that. I've had plenty of cars come here, like the Sunbeam Talbot. Again, it was another one that was just everything was a problem. Nothing worked properly, and it was all the wiring was knackered. It was just knackered. It was it was a proper Friday car. I've had brand new cars that have just been back to the dealership over and over again. I had a brand new Jag in 2020, and I think it must have gone back to the dealer 5 times. And it was a brand new Jag, and the stereo didn't work. Just black screen, just nothing. Wasn't on at all. Just a black screen. And it's a £46,000 brand new car.
What a ridiculous build quality level
Yeah,
that is.
insane. But some cars are just like that. And even the technicians, I was like, so why can't you just fix it? You just have to put a new stereo in it. And they're just like, we've done that. It's not that.
Really?
And they're just like, I don't, trying to work out what's wrong with it. There's acres and acres of wires and stuff. We just can't get it. And eventually they fixed it by putting another stereo in it. Or not stereo, like a CAN bus system, or changing that or something. It's mental. But anyway, that's how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What have you got, apart from the Triumph, what have you got your eye on at the moment to get in?
I can't give away spoilers. Like, this is a spoiler, but there is 3. Okay, I'll give away spoilers because this is the first time I've done a sort of a chat with a celebrity
I'm not a
before.
celebrity. A real celebrity is somebody like Jerry Halliwell from the Spice Girls. I'm just some random woman who
10
makes
years ago,
videos.
maybe.
No, I will not hear a bad word said about any of the Spice Girls. They were childhood icons. I'm not a real celebrity. I'm just someone who makes videos and blooming loves doing it and loves chatting to people. I think, do you know what? I'm going to go slightly off tangent and we're going to come back to spoilers.
Okay, yeah.
One of the greatest things about doing YouTube videos is that when you watch someone on telly, you will and you watch them on television, you will probably never meet them and you'll never get to have a chat with them, and so you never get to give them feedback or for them to receive feedback. Whereas for us, because of what we do, we make YouTube videos, we have the absolute privilege of meeting the people that watch our videos, and we get their feedback, we get to hear their views, their ideas, their thoughts on the channel. And not only does it help you to know whether you're going right or wrong and give you a bit of a benchmark for what you need to do next, but also it's a massive privilege because you get to connect with your audience in a much better way. So actually, I'd rather be somebody on YouTube than somebody like Ant and Dec on telly, because I actually get to meet the people and I get to mix with people, and I've made some really quality friendships. Whereas I imagine that if you go and do GMTV, I don't know if that's still on, but whatever it is now, Good Morning Britain, whatever it is, that permutation of a morning channel, you will never get to meet, realistically, the people that watch you, and you'll never get to make those connections. So I'd much rather do what we do. So anyway, I'm not a celebrity, but give us some spoilers.
They probably get paid more though, don't they?
They 100% get paid more. They are doing what I do. They don't go on a car, don't look for the cheapest toilet roll. They just buy whatever they want.
Spoilers. Spoilers, right, let's do it. Because, you know, it's first time, so we might as well. Potential for...
Go on.
BMW Z3.
Yeah.
That there's one that I'm waiting for them to find the logbook for, and as soon as they've found the logbook, I will be going and collecting that car. So that'll be a great resurrection. It's green. The car's silver, but it's green. It's got moss and algae and everything over it. I can't wait to get stuck into it. Love BMWs, and it'll be the first BMW for the channel. There is an Alfa Romeo GTV 3-litre V6, the Busso, which I'm, again, cannot wait for. He's absolutely miles away, and that one's covered in dust, been sat in a barn forever. Can't wait. Only big downside with that is it's an R-Reg, and that's a conversation, a whole different thing itself. But like, there's Friday cars, there's R-Reg cars as well. I've never had a good R-Reg car ever, and I've had loads of them. I've had engines fall out of R-Reg cars as you're driving down the road. The worst cars, R-Reg cars, and this is an R-Reg car. And maybe 20 years ago, I swore that I would never buy another R-Reg car. So this would be the first one since then, and it's going to be a little bit of a trial for me. Is it going to go right, or is it? Am I cursed for R-Reg cars? So there's that one, and then there is something a little bit different: a Volkswagen Transporter van.
Oh, that's
same
cool.
place that I got this from.
Yeah.
Which again has just been sat there gathering dust, so I'm interested because that is something different. And
yeah, definitely.
You know, my first sort of real proper job in the motor trade was Volkswagen commercial vehicles, so I'm interested to get my hands on that. Anything else cars wise? Yeah, so it's summer.
So we had 4. We've got 3 there. Is this the 4th?
Oh well. You've already, this is not a spoiler, it's there now, isn't it? Yeah. So the other spoiler, but again, I'm not sure if this is 100% happening, but this is, so summer, I use my Rover Ferrari MX-5, and I'm thinking about what car I would like to drive around in the winter. So when the sun stops coming out as often, the MX-5 will get put in the shed with a cover over it, and I will start using something else.
Okay.
That something else is possibly going to be the first big money car that I've put anywhere near the channel.
Yeah.
And I want to do something crazy because I've been driving around in trying to find words that aren't swear words, in like
less than desirable
cars. They're brilliant. Well done. Like my Passat estate and stuff like that, which I'm just like, it's a bit boring and stuff. So I want to get something as a winter hack, something I can cruise around in and potentially tow things with.
Okay.
like towing the Rover P4 to the Nürburgring or something like that. But I also want it to do, I don't know, 200 mile an hour. And I wouldn't mind it doing 0 to 60 in 4 seconds either. So fingers crossed, maybe over Christmas, when I've got some money, you'll see a Bentley Continental GT coming to the channel, which would be the first
That
sort
is
of
cool.
big money modern classic, because you're not going to believe this, and I don't think anybody's clocked onto this yet. You can buy one of those for sub 10 grand.
Can you?
Yeah, sub 10 grand. That's probably riddled with faults and all cost you. But one of the great things about having all this gear behind me is that I can fix a lot of stuff. And my mate works for Bentley, so if I need any computers or anything, he can sort all that out. So I'm thinking my winter hack this year, I'm going to go for something that, because I've been doing this for years now, and I've just been driving around in, you know, old stuff. I mean, the Bentley will still be old as well. It'll probably be 20 years old, but something with heated seats, cruise control.
Nice.
Do you reckon cruise control would work at 200 mile an hour?
Yeah, but where on earth are you going?
Stay tuned to find out.
Where on earth are you going to be doing cruise control? I wouldn't trust myself.
Autobahn.
I would say I wouldn't trust myself.
Or, as
I
we
would
call
lose
it in this
concentration.
country, the M6 toll.
The M6 toll is like the Wild West. People drive down there so fast.
Yeah, although I did go on it recently and I did see a couple of coppers. I've never seen coppers on it before in my life.
No,
never
I
seen coppers.
haven't.
Because it's like an unwritten rule, isn't it? It's like, give us 12 quid, do what you want. You know what I mean? Give us £6 for a small car and you can just, you know, just behave.
It's
Do
more
what
than
you want.
£6 now.
Yeah, it was
I got charged about 12 quid to take the Morris Minor down it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot.
Do you know that I broke down at the M6 toll?
No, in the
Oh,
Moggy.
God, this is one of my worst stories. I was stress testing the Marina. I haven't driven it since, which is really sad.
What does stress testing mean?
Well, you want to see if it breaks down, don't you, before you take it on the commute? So I'm
I
going
love
to
it.
do a big drive. So I went to Coventry to pick up my best friend, and then we went down. We've got a really tight little friendship group, people you've seen in the videos if you watch them regularly. So Richard with the Morris Minors. You've got Ryan, who's down in Worthing. You've got Joe, who's in Coventry. So anyway, stopped to pick up Joe, and we were like, yeah, Marina's running fine. We get down to Somerset, so we go meet Richard. Car's still running fine. We then go for a day out to Bristol. Fine. Drop them back. Still fine. Driving back, drop Joe at Coventry. Still fine. And I thought, this is going really well.
It's a big day out for Marina, that
Well, big weekend out. It was
Oh, nice, yeah,
it was
over
our
a couple of
Christmas
days.
Mashup, and now it's
Nice.
August. So
I was born down that way, by the way.
were you?
Yeah, I was
Where?
born in Chippenham in Wiltshire.
Oh, nice. Nice. It's a nice area.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So we get there. I'm back in the car. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm doing really well. Approaching the M6 toll, I change down from 4th into 3rd, and it goes. And do you know what that noise was? That was my clutch falling apart. And I have no idea why. I have no idea. It's done it twice, and it's really upsetting.
A difficult thing to fix on the roadside.
Yeah, and this woman wound down her window and was shouting out the window at me because I'd broken down. So I changed 4th down into 3rd, and then I went down into 2nd because I was like, hopefully it's just 3rd gear that's gone, knowing full well that was not the problem. Anyway, there wasn't time to pull off onto the hard shoulder, so I thought, right, if I get myself into one of those bays, I can then just angle myself off. So I was like, trying to get it in 2nd. I thought, I can't even get it into gear at this point. Anyway, cut a long story short, I got a few swear words shouted out the window at me by this woman. And I just thought, what do you think is going to happen? And then the police turn up moaning. And they're like, what do you think? I just thought, do you think this has been my dream evening? It's 9 o'clock at night because I'd sat in Joe's flat watching stupid videos on YouTube. Anyway, we're going wildly off tangent. So I didn't get to take it on the M6. It's got a really good engine in it. And I didn't get to enjoy the M6 toll.
Oh, nightmare.
But I also
The
didn't pay
modern
to get through.
roads, what's that again?
I also didn't pay to get through it, so like I didn't have to pay to get through it to get home.
Do you reckon if you broke down, you get it refunded?
I actually don't know. I think once you're through those golden gates, they don't owe you anything.
But modern roads and modern drivers aren't set up to deal with classic cars. People on the road driving Nissan Qashqais and things, they don't know what to do when there's a giant Vitesse in front of them with smoke coming out the exhaust, they don't know. They're like, oh God, you know what? And they're like, why are you only doing 70 mile an hour? Do 85 like me. It's like, I can barely do that. Like I should be doing 50, you know? With the flashing lights, and you know, you're all going slow, and you chug in, and you know, oh, it's stalled, and all this sort of stuff, and you're stalled at lights, and they're like flashing. You're like, come on! It's like, dude, like, look what I'm in. Do you know what I mean? People are weird.
Oh no, I'm really hard-faced. I won't have it. If someone gets up behind me and is flashing lights, I'm going slower. You're not going to intimidate me just because I'm in an old car. I'm very funny about this. I've got quite hard energy about this.
Quite aggressive, would you say?
I would say that I have definitely done things that I'm very not proud of in a classic. This person tried to intimidate me, and did I sit there and go with the window on the Morris Minor and then shout at them? I thought the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what, you're not going to intimidate me. And then afterwards, I did laugh to myself because I thought, look at me, some stupid woman with a beehive, wearing crimpline, leaning out the window of a Morris Minor to shout at someone. But I just thought, I will not be bullied off the road. And I would always say that to people
Everybody in
cars.
these new SUVs, they are all bullies, aren't they? You know, they're sort of all out to.
We are not the worst people on the road. The
No,
worst people on the
we're
road
the best.
are those people, absolutely. But the worst people on the road, I want your opinion in the comments section below. There's two types of people that I would love to take out in terms of I would remove their driving licenses immediately. Number one, people on the school run that perform the most atrocious manoeuvres all over the road, turning around to shout at the kids. They park on double yellows.
Yeah.
They
They're
make
paying
it really
attention to everything else apart from driving.
And they make it really hard for disabled people because they'll like park really far on the curb and stuff, and they'll do manoeuvres that make it really hard.
And the people that, you know, walk their kids to school, they can't get past because there's a I don't know, like an Audi e-tron.
Or it's always Qashqais as well.
Yeah, Qashqais or
remove
Dukes,
them.
Nissan Duke.
Yes, another horrendous car run, school run.
I mean, if you've got those 4D plates on your car as well, you're getting your license revoked for having those.
We're putting you in room 101. Also, anyone who uses their mobile phone whilst driving, I would immediately just have them off. They'd be gone.
Yeah.
And the other
it's hard in classic cars to use your mobile phone because you need 9 hands, don't you?
Exactly.
Like, is the choke start? Is it in the right place? When oh God, indicators on. I've got to switch the lights on myself because they're not automatic, and you know all this stuff.
I'm no Puritan, but also the other people that I would take out and put into room 101 are the people that drive in the middle lane doing 61 miles an hour. I'm going to really struggle to overtake you. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You're making life really difficult for everybody. And they're going only a few miles faster than the lorries, but immediately they've slowed everything down in both lanes. And you just think, why? Also, lorries that overtake each other on a hill. Why are they doing that?
Lorry drivers love to annoy everybody else. That's their. They wake up in the morning and they go, I can't wait to meet another lorry doing 0.3 mile an hour faster than me just so I can pull up alongside it. And it's the ones that really annoy you because when they're going downhill, if they've got big load, they can get a lot more momentum. And the ones that do momentum, they'll go to overtake and then they'll realise that the other one's starting to go down a hill, that one's starting to go faster, and then they'll pull back in behind and you're like, oh man, come on. Surely you knew that was going to happen, like.
It's like it's already taken me enough energy to get this power to get up this hill.
Yeah.
You've just blocked me from doing
especially
anything meaningful.
in an old classic car. A Scimitar I did a while ago. I drove it to where Scimitars were made as part of the as part of the video, and it shouldn't have been on the road to start with, but I did it anyway because I'm brave, and it had no lights. And it got dark, so the lights worked when I left, and like by the time, and a wheel fell off.
What?
Scimitars, again, fortunately, not the best cars in the world.
Is that the man at the wheel, or is that the car?
It's the car. They're made out of 100 different cars that they've nicked bits out of and stuck on. You know those like kids play with? They're like yellow and red on the bottom, made out of plastic. So it's one of those with all like Ford Cortina bits sort of welded onto it and stuff. That's what a Reliant Scimitar is. And this one was it was pretty knackered, and the engine started to go wrong, and The clutch didn't work, and so I was going back along the motorway, and it was just I had to do like 40 mile an hour because just nothing worked in the car. And the brakes kept all the fluid kept leaking out as well. One of the rear wheel cylinders, and yeah, it was horrendous, dangerous. So I was only going slow. But everybody, just sort of screaming at me and hollering and everything. And I was like, I can't do anything. I can only do 40. 40 is maximum. And I haven't even got any lights anyway. Why do you want me to go faster?
How far from home were you?
Only 2 hours or something. It's fine. Made it though. Still here.
Was it light when you got back?
No, it was like midnight.
Okay, we do not condone this. I just want to point this out. I would have pulled over. I'd have been like, no way am I trying this.
So yeah.
I had a really weird incident actually.
I pulled over when the wheel fell off.
Well, I think you had to.
Yeah.
I think you were stopped. I think the car said to you, enough is enough now. I want to go home.
Yeah, it did.
I had a bit of a weird incident, and I still don't know what it was. But I put my main beam on the Morris Minor, and it took the headlights out. And I thought, what?
Yeah.
And it only did it twice, and then it's never done it again.
Nice. Yeah.
And I have no idea what it was.
Well, I'll show you.
Ooh.
You need one of these in your life.
What is it?
Have a look.
Thanks. This looks like it was made after the fall of the Berlin Wall, so it's probably too modern for me.
If you've got a classic car, right,
Yeah.
get yourself one of those. They're about 10 quid off eBay.
What is it? It has a warning set.
No, that
What is
is a complete new wiring loom for your headlights. And it is the easiest thing in the world to do. So you see where your normal headlight plugs in?
Yeah.
All you do is you plug that into your normal headlight socket, and that's where it gets all your switches off. And then you connect one side to your negative on your battery, one side to the positive, and you've got the brightest, because it gives it all new relays, which classic cars don't have.
What, even CLB units?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It increases everything, because classic cars didn't have relays like this, and the wiring had to go through like 100 miles of wiring around the car before it got back to it, and that's why it's like a little glowworm in there, you know. But this, it goes literally from your battery to there, and it's big, thick, new modern cable. And I put these on almost after the Scimitar incident, of course. I put these on almost every classic car. I've got the truck's got one. Yeah, they're amazing. I recommend it, and they're like a tenner, and it'll take you 5 minutes to fit that. Especially on a moggy like.
That is a game changer, because I don't necessarily want to change my lights.
Yeah, so
I do like a sealed beam unit.
One of the reasons they go off as well, because it did exactly the same on the truck, is that it's overloaded. It can't. So if suddenly get too hot and stuff, and it can't cope, and it just switches it all off. But with that, it's super good.
That is wild.
I do recommend them. Just headlight wiring loom on eBay.
We've talked a little bit about spoilers, but where do you see your channel going over the next 12 months? So from now till autumn 2025, what do you want to do? Have you got any big goals you want to hit? Anywhere you'd like to go?
Nice. I'd like to still keep doing this and not have got cancelled for anything. That would be cool. Or, killed anyone, or, from driving or anything like that on the road. So I'm trying to do nice things like that. That'd be good. I'd like to, a couple of ones that I did recently of like the more modern classics, they've done really, really well. So that's why I said like the Z3 and the Alpha, just something a little bit more modern. I like going to the Nürburgring and taking the cars on sort of long trips. So like the dream for me would be to have this Continental GT with some tasty classics livery on it, with a tow bar, my car trailer, and the Rover P4. Because if you've maybe I can put a picture on or something. You took some pictures of it before, didn't you? The P4, yeah. Have that ready to go on the trailer, because driving at any distance, you could do it, but it's not very comfortable and all this sort of stuff. Put that on the trailer and drive it off to the Nürburgring. So I'd get to the Nürburgring and I could drive the P4 around a few times, and I could drive the Bentley around a few times. Not disconnect the trailer first.
That's a really nice dream.
Yeah, so I'd love to do that. That'd be great. And in between, do another 20 of these.
Really?
Well, not 20, maybe 10.
I was going to say, that's quite ambitious because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot to be getting on with here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bit.
Modern versus classic repairs. What do you prefer and why?
Well, the parts is the problem. We've got a weird parts culture in Britain. We're completely different to the States. Like the pickup truck, I can go on any website and order anything for that truck, and it will be
Really?
here in 2 or 3 days. Anything, door handles, the chrome work, the fittings, the fixtures, anything. There's over here, there's a lot of stuff we just don't reproduce. We just don't make. There's a lot of stuff we do, but it's like, the little things like the door moldings. No, I want a new where the lock sits in and the sort of balance. If I want a brand new, well, we don't make those. You can try and find a nice clean one because nobody reproduces this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like a good example was the Vanden Plas or Vanden Pla, however you say it.
Class.
Yeah, it is Plas.
Yeah.
It is Plas. It is Plas. It is, yeah.
It's because it's Flemish.
Yeah.
People debate this, but I've been told by somebody that actually knows and has a bit of a brain that it's Vanden Plas.
A lot of people over here pronounce it Vanden Pla because that's how they sort of sold them, as they were trying for it to be quite posh. It was Vanden Pla, but it's not. It's Vanden Plas. But anyway, that one that I did not so long ago, gorgeous car. There was some bits of it that. Doing what I do on the videos and stuff, sometimes I'm working on a car for like 8 days straight or something. I need parts. I need to get the parts quickly because if I don't get the parts straight away, I can't. It delays everything and ruins everything, and
Yeah.
it's a big problem because you've got a car in the middle of million pieces in the middle of your workshop. So I needed the rear beam mounts. 2 very specific rubber mounts that are just, anyway, very specific. Nobody makes them, can't get them.
Great.
So I was like, right. And it failed its MOT on these. So I was like, right, I need those, and the parts culture that we have in Britain is a little bit gatekeepery. So you have people who have the parts and they're very reluctant to give them up. And they don't want just anybody selling them. And there's a lot of people who buy parts as a speculation. So, the price is going to increase. I was talking to a guy from Auto Glass not so long ago, probably only last month. And he said one of the mad things at the moment is people buying 80s, 90s retro car glass.
Really?
Just as a speculation, just to keep in the garage, like a Sierra Cosworth, windscreen and stuff. Oh, I'm going to buy 5 of those as a little bit of an investment. It's mad, It's very, very strange how sort of what we are. And the problem with getting these mounts from this Vanden Plas was that there was one guy sort of down south and he was on eBay and he wanted a huge amount of money for them. And he was just like, right, I got these. And I was just like, okay, listen, I'll pay whatever because it's the only set left, And it took, I think it was like maybe almost 2 weeks for them to get here.
Yeah, it's not commercially viable for you.
No, and at that point your MOT retest has run out, so you've got to pay for another MOT, all these problems. And in the States, there would be a company out there that would just reproduce them. They would just make a load because they'd see that gap. They're not an uncommon car. They're exactly the same on Ambassadors, Allegros, Princesses.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same. So there is, there's someone that will, there is money in remanufacturing them, but it's just not something that we do, So we're just like, whatever. And you end up having to go down these routes. So when it comes to what I prefer working on, I love working on old stuff, but my latest video on that ST Focus there, I picked up the phone and ordered 1,500 quid's worth of parts for that car.
Yeah.
All the service items, cam belts, MOT bits, everything I needed. And it was all here from the local motor factors in 2 hours.
You can't complain at that.
It's a huge difference. And I would love to see a situation where, and if I had all the money in the world, I would try and set something up like, what's the big one in the States? We use Rock Auto. Rock Auto. Have you ever used Rock Auto for anything?
I haven't, but my friends Neve and Jake use it because they've got a full fair lane.
Yes, nice. So
Yeah.
first thing about them, you get a little magnet. Every time you order it, you get a little magnet of a classic
Yeah.
car, of a different one. They're so cool.
That is cool.
But it's super easy to use website. Everything's available, and it just, you know, if we could have something like that for all UK cars, because what we tend to have to do is you go onto someone like Moss or Rimmers, and they're car specific, so they only do certain models of cars. They only do certain models of stuff. It's like, right, well, you don't do this particular car, so where am I going to get those from? Ford Capri behind me, you'd think that'd be so easy to get parts for.
Yeah.
And it is if you've got hours and hours and hours to sit on the internet, and there's maybe 20 different independent small car part suppliers, and some of them have got some bits, some of them haven't, some of them have got other bits, some of them haven't. So what you end up having to do is order 2 things from there, 3 things from there, 1 thing from there, 5 things from there, and it's so frustrating for loads of boring reasons, but like even down to accounting. Given my accountant stuff, and it's like I've got to try and get 5 different invoices together for my account instead of it all just being one.
Yeah.
Loads of different problems like that, which mean that it's just the classic car stuff is difficult, and it can be very, very hard, and not so much hard, but time consuming. Time consuming is a big thing.
And you're just waiting on different parcels, and certain jobs you can't do until part B arrives, but you've only got part A.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating.
You can't go any further. And there's behind me here, there's quite a big classic car restoration company, and he needed a part for a Lamborghini Miura. He was telling me this a couple of years ago, and he'd been working on this Lamborghini Miura, and the bill that the customer owed them was up to something like 10 grand, and he needed a I can't remember what it was, if it was a window mechanism or the window itself for this left-hand drive, driver's side window door or whatever. And then he couldn't get this part. And the big problem there was that the customer doesn't want to pay the bill because the car's not finished.
No.
And he can't get the part, and he said he could get the part, but it had to come from Italy, and it was going to be 6 weeks or something like that. So he said the huge problem he's got is cash flow. So he's 10 grand into a job. He's already laid out maybe 6 grand of that on parts already, which is his cost, you know. And then you're dealing with people who own Lamborghini Miuras. They're not the kind of people that are going to be too happy if you phone them up and go, oh, can you just pay for your parts, please? You know, it's not that sort of vibe. Like, so, you know, he's like, right, my cash flow's now, you know, in a real bad state because I've got to wait so long for these parts, and he can't get his bill paid until those parts arrived, it's fitted, and the car's out the door, which is totally fair, and that's how, you know, as a customer, you would expect things to work. But it just means that working on classic cars can be so hard. You know, there's so many barriers in your way. You know, and it's a very different story to if you're restoring one car on your driveway and you've got another day driver and you don't need to bother waiting for parts. Completely different. We're fine, and that's what a lot of people tend to do. But that's why a lot of like garages that sort of specialise in it, it's hard work. It's hard work.
It is hard work. If I had an envelope here, and I said to you, there's a car in here which you would definitely refuse. What car is it?
Definitely refuse?
Yeah, there must be one car in this world that you would say, I would never ever touch it.
Definitely refuse. Wow.
It could be mint, it could be, but you would just be like, no way, I'm not going near it.
A lot of modern Renaults I don't like.
Do you want to talk about the Renault?
My mum's Renault that's parked there, she loves for some reason, and I have to do now loads of work on it because she loves it and doesn't want any other car. And it's like, it's the worst car in the world. Well, it's not, it's all right.
And you're being the best son in the world by keeping it going.
Keeping my mum happy. But it's not that bad. I just don't particularly like it. It's got a key card as a key. Doesn't make any sense. And they always go wrong because of course it would. But I'm going to have to say it again. It would be a Qashqai or a Duke. I couldn't be seen in one. I just couldn't. It would pain me every day. I'd be sad.
So I'm going to take it that you don't want Nissan as a channel sponsor, no?
Oh no, I love Nissans. Nissan have done some of the
Modern
best cars in the
Nissans?
world. No, just those two Nissans. I like Nissan Micras. I think they're great. Nissan Primera, and there's a Primera there on the wall. That's a Nissan Primera.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, I love Nissans, but for some reason, well, there's a theory behind why they're so bad, and it's because anyway. But the Duke and the Qashqai, they are awful, but they're also responsible for what's going on now. So they were the first. So the first SUV type of car, you can go really far back and you go, well, was it the Renault Espace? Did that ruin everything? Because all of a sudden people were sitting higher up. And then that was a bit of, and then you started to see Zafiras and Galaxies and things like, okay, everybody liked being set up. And then you went away from the MPV, which was a brilliant idea of a car. And we should have kept that concept. I mean, we still kind of do,
They
but
still
we
have
don't.
them in France.
Yeah, MPVs,
Yeah.
brilliant concept to go, because the little vans with 7 seats, they're perfect cars, but they're not cool. So people didn't want that. And then, unfortunately, Nissan, burped out the Qashqai, and everybody started to buy into that because it was very, very cheap, and for a very small amount of money, you could sit higher up than your neighbour, and the next person in the car next to you, you're sitting higher up than them, and that has ruined the world of cars now. Everything, all the new cars are SUVs.
Yeah.
Everything's an SUV. It's tall, it's big, it's just, and there's no space inside them. They're tiny inside. They're tiny.
I know.
Yeah, but everybody's like, but now we're all sitting up, and that's what we want. We want to sit high up, and it was all started pretty much from the Qashqai.
So the Qashqai is your arch enemy.
Yep.
So we leave you there. We started on a high with the classics and we end on a low with the Qashqai. Hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit longer than usual. I've certainly really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's great fun.
Yeah, it's been one of my favourite interviews actually.
Yeah.
You're really good fun to interview. I hope you've all
Thank you.
enjoyed it at home. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below and remember to check out Tasty Classics. If you don't know where to start looking, you can either search Tasty Classics in YouTube or I have popped a link for you in the description box below. Now, the very next time we see each other, we will be testing one of the Tasty Classics fleet. Will it be something smaller or will it be the big old truck? Well, you'll have to tune in and find out. But until then, take care and drive safely.
Bye.